Hi everyone, it's Jan again, and this is my second video about Excel VBA. In the last video, we have talked about objects in Excel. This is on the screen. What I'm just showing is Excel Visual Basic Editor, which I will say a few words about later. But in the last video, we have talked about an application object, which is at the top of the hierarchy of the Excel objects. Then one level below is object called workbook, which you can see, for example, here that I have workbook open training sheet, and I have workbook open, and it's called training sheet. Then on the workbook, we have object called worksheet. On this particular workbook, we have three worksheets: sheet 3, sheet 2, and sheet 1. And last object is range, which is on particular worksheet. The range can be one cell, or it can be many cells, or it can even be cells that are not adjacent together. You can select the range of cells that basically do not touch each other, and you can still enter data in it. You just have to hold down the control button, and then you click anywhere or drag anywhere you like, and you can select non-adjacent ranges, and you can of course enter the values in them. If you want to populate this value into all selected range, then you press Ctrl and Enter, and Excel populates the values to all the cells in the range. Okay, so that's previous video. In this video, I'm going to talk about a little about the Visual Basic Editor, which you can open from workbook by pressing Alt and F11. And if you haven't opened this editor at all in the past with this workbook, then this area here is going to be grayed out. For you to view the code, you just have to, or to view the area where you can create and edit and maintain the VBA code, you can just right click on any class module that you see here under this folder, Microsoft Excel Objects, and you click View Code. You can do it on each class module that you like, or you can just double click on the class module and it does the same trick. So those are the places where the code can be entered, and there are later on where we're going to talk about sheet-specific macros or workbook-specific macros, and we are going to be entering the code into these class modules. But for now, we will right-click on this folder here, and we will insert a new module into the workbook. So we know that in Excel is these main or these objects, and the VBA code modifies the objects and works with the objects. So let's do a simple code that will explain to you how basically you can refer to the object and how can you do operations with it. So for you to start coding down, you need to start the so-called procedure, and the procedure is started by writing down sub and then the name of the procedure, which can be anything you want basically. So I'll just name it training. You press enter, and you can see that Excel automatically added this M sub line on the bottom, and your code goes in the middle of the line sub and the name of the sub, and then end sub, so the code goes here. Then let's see. Okay, we have a workbook called training sheet open, and on this workbook we have 3 sheets: sheet 1, sheet 2, and sheet 3. We are now currently on sheet 3, which is so-called active sheet. So let's say we want to activate sheet number 1. So we just simply start typing sheets and open parentheses and double quote, and we type in the name of the sheet, sheet 1, double quotes and close parentheses, and now we type dot, and we can use a method called activate to activate sheet number 1 and press enter. And when I run the code either by pressing F5 or by clicking on this play button on the ribbon above, then sheet 1 will be activated. You can see that we are not now on sheet 3 but on sheet 1. Then on this sheet we can select a certain range. So we have activated the sheet, and we will now select the range. So we are basically starting to type range and open parentheses. And let's say that we want to select the range from C1 to C6. So let's go back to the code and just type in C1 colon and C6 and double quotes and close parentheses and dot again, and you can see that you are presented with a lot of choices that you can use here. The green icon means that the choice is a method, and little notes icon that the finger points to, it's either the property of the object or another object that is one level below in the hierarchy. So pressing dot again, and we can select the range. Okay, so let's run the code again. Activate sheet 3, go back to it, and this time I will press F5, and you can see that the sheet 1 was activated and range C1 to C6 was selected. Another method of let's say addressing the range is not using the range object, but the cells property. The cells is a property of range. So we are going to do the same with property cells. So we just type in cells, and we want to select cell C1. So cells, open parentheses, cell C1 is in row number 1 and in column 3, and we close parentheses, and again we can select this cell. I will now comment out this range part of the code. This is done by highlighting the line, or you can comment out all the lines, doesn't matter. Then you highlight the line of the code and you click here this comment block icon on the top of the ribbon, and the line that you have selected, or lines, will become green, and they will be intended by quote in front of it. This actually means that when the code runs, this line is not seen as the part of the code but your comment, and you are allowed to put comments anywhere in your code you want. So once this code runs, just to demonstrate, go back to sheet 3, go back to the code, and once this code runs, right now I will start it line and go through it line by line, which is done by pressing F8, so you can see the particular steps and what the tool does. So first, the sheet 1 is going to be activated, and you can see that it activated the sheet 1, and it skipped this commented line. So it doesn't see it as the part of the code but your comment. And then now this is going to select cell C1, and we end the procedure. So C1 was selected. This method of calling the cells instead of using the range becomes handy when you are doing loops, for example, or you have variables put in the row parameter or the column parameter, and the variables are changing as the code progresses. So this method of calling becomes handy then, but more about that in another videos when we talk about loops and variables. Okay, so we have addressed sheet 1 and we have activated it. We have first selected the range C1 to C6, and then I was showing how to do the cells method and selecting the cell. As the last part of this video, I will comment hold this block out. And the last part of this video, I will show you how to address a different workbook from this workbook. So if I want to address a different workbook and a certain sheet on that workbook from this one, then I just need to type down workbooks and open parentheses, and I need to type the name of the workbook that I need to address. I have here the workbook called Excel Loops Final XLSM. So let's address this one, and let's address sheet number 1 in that workbook. So I will just copy the name of the workbook, so I wouldn't have to type it. So go to Excel Loops. I'm gonna press F2 to be able to copy the name. Control C, copy the name, go back to the code, and don't mind this one, this just expanded the code from the final loops. So I will just collapse it again, and I go back to our code, and we just simply paste the name of the workbook here. We put in double quotes, close parentheses, and we said that we are going to be addressing sheet number 1 in that workbook. So we type dot and we start typing sheets, and we can click a down arrow and tab to use the selection from the drop down menu. And again, open parentheses, double quotes, and we type the name of the sheet, which is sheet 1. So we can copy this. Never mind this error. This just means that we haven't finished this line, and this sheet's object is expecting the name or the separator. So just click OK to close down this error. Copy this sheet from here and paste it here. Close parentheses, and we are going to activate the sheet. So dot, type in activate and press enter. Sorry, I have forgot double quotes in here. So we just put them in and press enter now. Okay, so going back to this workbook, we are in sheet 1, on sheet 1, and now we are going to run our macro, and it should activate the workbook called Excel Loops Final, and it should activate the sheet 1 in that workbook. So let's again run it by pressing this play button, and sure enough, the sheet 1 on Excel Loops Final workbook have been activated. And then as a last step of this video, let's do the simple macro, which, let's say, will populate this range, as you can see here, from A1 to J6 with the value our range. So I will delete it for now and go back to the code. So I will comment out this section so it wouldn't apply, and I am right now on sheet number 1 in this workbook, so I no longer need to activate it. So I can straight away start typing range, and we had a range from A1 colon to J6 double quotes and close parentheses, and we can either select it first, and then we can say selection dot value equals, and then in double quotes, because we want to put text in there, and all text has to be in double quotes. So let's say we put back what was there, which was our range, and we type double quotes again. So right now let's run the code again step by step by pressing F8. These 4 lines will be skipped as they are commented out. First, the macro will select the range, and then it populates the range with the values. But you don't need to do this interim step when you want to populate some range with the value. You can just straight away say, instead of selecting the range first, you can say the range A1 to J6 equals our range, and I will comment out this section so it will apply. So going back to the sheet number 1, I will delete what it's here so you can see, and I will select the cell which is outside of the range. And then I go back to the code, and this time I will press F5 to run the whole code. And you can see that the procedure has finished, and the range A1 to J6 has been populated with our value, but it wasn't selected. Okay, you don't need to select the ranges in order to do operations with them. So if I run it again, this macro doesn't select the range, it just populates the range with the value. Okay, so that's just about all when it comes to Excel objects and addressing the Excel objects. In another videos, when we come to more complicated operations and we need to elaborate more on how to work with objects, then I will address that over there. So in next video we are going to talk about declarations, variables, and maybe we are going to do first simple loop. Okay, so thank you for watching, and hope to see you in the next video.